This is a good one over here. No. It's no, because there's a couple of ideas that are mamish amazing. Here we go. Danny, you ready?
Yeah.
Ready or not? With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos Daf Hey. We are in middle of learning the sugya of how are we to view a yad based on the rule that we had on Daf Daled, that be'inan akira v'hanocha mi'al gabe mokim daled al daled, that an akira and an hanocha is only considered a proper lifting up and a proper putting down if it's coming from a locale, from a location where the item was on something that's 4x4 tefachim. You have to put it down on an area that's at least 4x4 tefachim. In our Mishnah, we learned cases where both the ani took it out of the hand of the balabayis, or the balabayis put it in the hand of the ani. A hand physically is one tefach. When the fingers are open, I don't know what tefach, 2 tefachim max, 2x1, not 4x4. How does that fit with this rule? So we actually already learned 3 approaches that were all refuted. That our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Akiva, then that our Mishnah goes according to Rebbe, our Mishnah goes according to Achedim. That was ruled. That's where we're up to. We're going to be introducing the concept of lavud. We're going to be introducing a concept of gud aches. These are normally terms that are used primarily in Hilchas Sukkah, but we'll see how they play a role. We'll explain what they mean and how they play a role here in our sugya. We're going to be going back to the case of a thrower and a catcher. So someone throws an item into the Reshus Harabim. Carrying 4 amas b'Reshus Harabim is also violating the law of transferring. And here the question is, someone caught it. So what's the question? Well, the guy that threw it made the akira. How are we to view the guy that catches it? Is the catcher the one making the hanacha? Or is the thrower the one that did both the akira and the hanacha? And we learned it depends whether the catcher stood in his place, whether the catcher needed to go to catch it. So we're going to readdress that din. We're going to define better the meaning of an item resting from where you make an akira. How do you define resting? The example, if you have a nut floating on water and you lift up the nut, did you make an akira? Now, if the body of water could be 4x4, but the nut isn't exactly resting. You hear that? And let's go to the next case. Let's say there's a nut in a cup, and the cup is floating on the water. Here, the nut is resting more, because the nut itself is not floating. The nut is mamish stationary in the keli, but the keli is floating. Gavaldik. And someone made an akira, again, he lifted up the nut from the utensil. Is that called an akira? And again, an akira has to be done to something that is resting, from which you make the akira. We're going to introduce the very important concept by Hilchas Shabbos known as meleches machshavas, a calculated labor. In other words, when a person makes an akira, and a person intended when they lifted something up that they're going to carry it from this corner of the house to another corner of the house, they did not intend when they made the akira to transfer it to another domain. Then they actually walked outside. We will see that person did not violate biblical carrying. Because melachas machshavas means that all of the malacha needs to be done with the intent of doing that which we're not allowed to do, doing that labor. If it wasn't a calculated labor, gavaldik, then you didn't do an akira. We're going to introduce the shita of Ben Azai that holds mahalach ka'oim edami. When a person is walking, right? We already spoke various cases where the dinim that we learned is based on the premise that when you're walking is not an akira nor a hanacha. Right? Yesterday, if a person already is on the street and there's something in their pocket, they shouldn't stop. No, it's walking is not stopping. Ben Azai holds that every time you take a step, when you put your foot down, you're making a hanacha, and then when you're lifting the other foot up, you're making a new akira. And therefore, we don't paskin that way. But according to Ben Azai, many of the halachis that we are learning will have to be understood in a different way, and much more. And let us start on Daf Hey Amud Aleph. We left off 15 lines from the top of the Amud. Count down 15 lines on top of the Amud is one line above the parentheses, Shekibel B'Teraskel. The words Amar Rabbi Abba. So Nachamol. We are beginning with the rule that we had on Daf Daled, that be'inen akira v'hanochem Me'al gabi makim dalad al dalad. Based on that rule, we didn't understand how does the whole case of the Mishnah apply? How does it work? The ani puts it in the hand of the balabais. The balabais puts it in the hand of the ani. You take it out of the hand of the balabais. A hand is not 4 by 4 tfachim. So we already refuted the Mishnah is not Rabbi Akiva, it's not Rebbe, it's not Achedim. So we're back to the question: why is there b'chlal a biblical violation? You got it taking it off someone's hand, putting it in someone's hand. If the hand doesn't have 4 by 4 tfachim, which seems to be a prerequisite for you to violate transferring, both for Akira and for Tanach. So Amar Rabbi Abba says Rabbi Abba it must be Masnisin Kigoin, and here we have various versions, various girsa'os. In the Gemara it's written Shekibel b'teraskel, the Bach amends it to She'okar mei teraskel, meaning that the cases in the Mishnah is that the Ani and the Balabas, they are holding a basket. The basket itself has 4 by 4 tfachim. I'm speaking about the inside floor of the basket. So now the Ani puts it in the hand of the Balabais, or he takes it from the basket of the Balabais. It's all the Hanacha and the Akira. The Akira and the Hanacha is from a basket into a basket. The Ikanami Hanacha. That's the way the Mishnah will work with the rule that it has to be Mi al Dalid al Dalid.
The basket was in his hand.
Yeah. I v'hayod leiktani. Not the basket in the hand. It says hand. So today you have to learn in Pshat teraskel shabiyodai. A very important klal. When it comes to a braisa, there's more liberty to actually amend it. When it comes to a Mishnah, when the Gemara says tenei teraskel shabiyodai, the Gemara is not saying that actually there is a mistake in the Mishnah. The Mishnah wrote the words because every word, like in the Chumash, has many layers of meaning. Those words are meduyak b'yoyser. The way you'll teach in, you have to understand the Mishnah meant not your hand, but the basket in your hand. Frek the Gemara, this answer is not perfect. Hatinach teraskel b'rishus hayachid makes sense. Then the case the ani, let's say, takes it out of the basket in the hand of the balabais, that works. And then the ani takes it to him. The ani is outside. Akira mirishus hayachid v'hanacha b'rishus harabim. Elo teraskel shu b'rishus harabim. Let's speak about the case. For example, the balabais gave something to the ani, and he puts it not in his hand. He puts it in the basket in his hand. 1 second. What was the malach here? He went from a reshus hayachid to what? To a reshus harabim? No. Why would the basket in the hand of the ani, even though the ani is standing in the reshus harabim, but the basket should have a din of a reshus hayachid? Reshus hayachid. And lema, are we therefore to say that our Mishnah does not go according to Rabbi Yossi but Rabbi Yehuda the Tanya? Rabbi Yossi but Rabbi Yehuda Omer, look at his case, that niates kana b'reshus harabim, if someone inserted a pole into the reshus harabim, and on the head, on the top of the pole, you have a teraskel, and on top, right, and the teraskel has 4 by 4, and the walls of the basket, my friends, let's say are 10 tfachim, or the way Rashi says you don't even need that, because as we'll learn a lot more in the laws of Sukkos, there's a concept called gud achis. Gud achis means if you have a little bit of a wall, we halachically make believe as if this wall goes all the way down to the floor. So actually, even though the pole in the bottom of the ground doesn't have 4 by 4, but since we view the walls of the basket as if they go down all the way to the ground, so we have imaginary walls from the ground that in these imaginary walls you have 4 by 4. No one debates that. So the top of the basket is reshus hayachid, because it's 4 by 4 tfachim, and it's walled off the reshus harabim by a mechitza of 10 tfachim or more. So what's the din over there? And someone zarak through an object, and it falls on top of the basket. Chayev. Why are you chayev? Because obviously he holds that the basket has a din of a reshus hayachid.
So someone that throws from reshus harabim
to into there, he's going to be chayev. Now, based on that, if our Mishnah would go ki Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Yehuda, I get it that you're saying that our Mishnah is speaking about a case where you have a basket. So what? Pashat balabais is yodai v'nasan lachutz. So you're coming from the Rishus HaYachid. And the case is the Balabais puts it, L'toich yodoi shel ani. And we touched, what does that mean? In the basket, in the hand of the ani. Why would the Balabais be chayiv? It came from a Rishus HaYachid, Gavaldik. And the basket in itself has a din of another Rishus HaYachid. Rishus HaYachid komapik. That's no biblical violation. No, yes, people that know, remember that midrabanan, without an eruv, you may not carry from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid. Fine. Not fine. It's not fine, but you didn't violate chayiv. You're not chayiv skila. You're not chayiv chatas. There's no biblical violation. Says the Gemara, Filu temen Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. In the case of the Braisa, was lamayla meyud. Right? We said the pole was at least 10 tefachim off the ground. And then there's 4x4 floor of the basket. Good asik. We make believe as if the walls go all the way down to the ground. So you are in a different domain. Over here in the Mishnah, the Balabayas extended an item and he put it in the basket in the hand of the ani. We're speaking about the hand, and the basket is under 10 tefachim. Now hold on. If you don't have a mechitza of 10 tefachim high, but you have a ground, a floor that's 4x4, normally this will be one of the ways we define a karamelis. So the vital, how does that even answer the question? It's still not the Rishus Harabim. So Tosfos over here says, the third Tosfos in the Amid, Kan lamata meyud, I ve'im toimer, nehi the Rishus HaYachid loihava, but the Rishus Harabim, nami loihava elake karamelis, k'moi any amoid that is high 3 tvachim and is wide 4x4 tvachim. So amai chayiv, says Tosfos a gavaldik rule, the Yashleimer, the ein karamelis bekalim. The ein karamelis bekalim. So if you have like a beam, it's not a keli, that has the top of the beam, if the top is 4x4 and the height of the beam is less than 10, that's a karamelis. You have a mailbox. If it's less than 10 and it's 4x4, that's a din of a karamelis.
And it's makom p'tur?
If it's less than 4x4, then it's a makom p'tur.
And if it's more than 10?
If it's more than 10, then you are in a makom p'tur. We'll get more about that. But if you are putting something in a utensil, this is the rule, the utensil is batel to the reshus that the utensil is in. And people should not jump to Hilchas Kinyanim. We're learning Hilchas Shabbos now. A keli for Hilchas Shabbos is considered part of the domain that it is in. And if you are under Yud Tfachim, the Reshus Harabim goes up until Yud Tfachim, so then this basket has a status of a Reshus Harabim. So it fits. So that's why the Balabai says Chayiv. However, still, Kashi Leila Rababo, Mik, Tani, Traskel, Shubi Yadai. First of all, Doichik. At the end of the day, the Mishnah didn't write basket. Yadik Tani. So Rababo doesn't accept this answer, the answer of Rab Abba. So Elam Rababo, keep going. Forget about the basket. Let's go back to the hand. Sheshil Shal Yadai Lamata Migimol. There's another law, also applied a lot in Hilchas Sukkah, but it's also negay over here, called lavud. Lavud means that if one item is within less than 3 tefachim from another item, it's halachically considered as if they're touching. Let's come to our case. Under 3 tefachim, it's mamish considered the ground, the floor. So what was the kasha? My hand is not 4x4. If my hand is within 3 tefachim, there is less than 3 tefachim from the top of my hand to the top of the floor, my hand is halachically considered, you put it on my hand, you put it on the floor. The ground under my hand is 4x4. You take it from my hand, you took it from the floor, halachically. And that's the case of the Mishnah.
What's the difference between the good asik and lavud?
Good asik means something else. Good asik means if you have a platform, right? So we make believe as if the walls of the platform go all the way down to the ground. Good asik in Sukkah would mean we don't paskin this way. We paskin good achis. We don't paskin good asik. Good asik would mean that when you build a sukkah, you have to have at least, let's say, 2 walls and a bit. Those walls need to touch the ground. If you follow good achis, then you would say, as long as the wall has the minimum height, even if it's high up in the air, we make believe as if the wall goes all the way to the ground. Again, by sukkah we don't paskin that way, but by sukkah we paskin the opposite. That if the wall has 10 tvachim height, and the schach is much higher than it, it's within the limit of the height, but the wall doesn't have to go all the way up to the schach, because halachically we make believe as if the wall goes all the way up. And then there are those who hold that we also apply good the other way around also. Okay. So he's using the word the rule of lavud, and our Mishnah is speaking everything is the hand is adjacent to the ground within 3. Vikibla. It makes it whatever the ground is. So perfect. So when the yachid, so the ani is bachutz. We're speaking now the case where the balabais puts it in the hand of the ani. If the hand of the ani is within lamata migimel, ki'ilu the balabas put it on the ground. If the balabas's hand was lamata migimel, the ani took it mi yodei mehabalabais. He took it from the rishus hayachid. The problem here is for ha'oimid ktani, and when people stand, your hand is higher than within 3. So the Gemara says that it must be that b'shoichem. You're standing, but you're bent over. V'iba yisema beguma. Beguma would mean that there's a hole in the ground. You're standing in the hole, but since the hole is deep in the ground, when you're standing straight, you're not bending down. But when you extend your hand outwards over the ground around the hole, your hand is within 3 tvachim. Very unusual scenarios. V'iba yisema bananas. A midget, the ganze person, when he's standing, his hand is lamata migimel. So Amar Rava, ikapal Tana, the Tana Ki'ilu took pains, the Tana made an effort, lashme'in and kol hani. No, we get the din of the Mishnah. But why would the Mishnah paint a scenario that's so unusual? It doesn't make sense. Bending or a midget, there's a hole in the ground. Ela Amar Rava, now we have the final answer. Yadai shel Adam. Everyone subscribes, at least we are saying, our Mishnah subscribes to the rule that Akira and a Hanocha has to be Me'al Dalad Al Dalid. It has to be 2 Dalad Al Dalid. A hand of a person, Chashuv Eloi, is significant to a person, Kidalad Al Dalid. First of all, there's different ways of understanding why do you need to have Dalad Al Dalid. So one rule is that if something is on an area that's not Dalad Al Dalid, it's not secure there. People don't leave things on a place that's less than Dalad Al Dalid. And if it's not secure, if it's not stationary, we learned, then if you take it from there, you didn't make an akira. An akira has to be Ma'al Makim Denoyech. We had these words before. A hand grasps. So it is safe. You put something in someone's hand, the area of the hand is not little, but because of the way God made us, especially after Noach, right, whose fingers are separated, you grasp things. So therefore, it's halachically like Dalad Al Dalid, both for Akira and for Hanocha. The Chaim Kiyasa Ravin, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael, Ravin traveled, and he used to come back to Babel, and he used to bring with him many teachings of Rabbi Yechanan throughout. There's Ravin. So Kiyasa Ravin Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Yadei Shel Adam Chashuv Eloi Kedalad Al Dalid. And now let's quote another saying of Ravin, Amar Rab Avin, and this could be the same one, Amar Rabbi Eloi, just an Ravin and Avin might be the same memra, right? The Reb Avin, Ravin. Okay, in any event, Amar Rabbi Ravin, Amar Eloi, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Zorak Chafetz, V'noyach B'toich Yadei Shel Chaveiroi. If a person threw an object, the thrower is standing in the Reshus HaRabban, right? And it traveled 4 amas, and it landed in someone else's hand. Here the question is to be chayev chatos. One person needs to do both the akira and the hanacha. Did the thrower do the hanacha? We had this yesterday, so now we're quoting the same din. We can argue both ways. You can argue that the thrower only did the akira. The catcher did the hanacha. So it was said in the name of Rechanan that that the thrower is chayev. Why is the thrower chayev? Because now that we established that Yadai Shel Adam is Kedalad Al Dalid, in the case, we learned this yesterday, if the catcher needed to run to catch it, that's different. If the catcher is standing in the same place, then we don't view his act of catching as if he made the hanacha. It was going to him already from the moment the akira was made. It was going to land there. Ayat would have landed on the ground, and now it landed a moment before. That we don't give credit now to the catcher for that, and the thrower was chayev. But the Gemara is asking, Michael Mashmalon, if the chiddush is to tell you Yadei Shel Adam Chashuv Eloi Kedalad Al Dalid v'ha'amara be'Yechanan Chada Zimna. So answers the Gemara, Mal Tema Hanami Lehecha Da Achshav Ehu Liyadei. You would think that when do we view a hand Kedalad Al Dalid, right? When the person who's performing the transference shows that he considers the recipient's hand significant. Like in the case of the Mishnah. Someone put it in the hand of the other. I put it in your hand, I'm machshiv your hand. It just happened to land in the catcher's hand. The thrower, Lav Dafka, wanted it even to fall in his hand. So maybe maybe you need to have a chashivus that's given by the person who's violating. And here the violator maybe was not machshiv the hand of the catcher, kumash malan, that it's a objective chashivus. Hand is dalad al dalid, whether the one doing the malacha was machshiv it or whether he was unaware of it. He didn't care about it. It was irrelevant to him. Torah says that yad shaladim is kadalad al dalid. Amar Rab Oven, Amar Rabbi Loim, Rabbi Yechanan. Let's go back to these cases. Amad b'mekoymai. This nuance, that if the thrower threw an object and the recipient did not need to move, and vikibel, and he receives that item, then is where we say that the thrower is chayiv. Then we pin on the thrower the akira and the hanacha. However, if akar b'mekoymai, if the receiver, if the catcher, in order for him to catch it, needed to move from his place where he was when the thrower threw the object, means bishas akira. If the catcher would not have moved, he would never have been able to catch it. And now he was mekabel it. Now pater, both. Now we say that the hanach was done by the catcher. So not the thrower nor the catcher did both the akira and the hanach. Each one only did half, right? And then we say the din of pater avalas.
Does moving mean he just moved his hands?
Huh? No. Moving means he needed to move his whole body. He needed to move from his place.
This example is talking about in Rosh Hashanah. They're both in Rosh Hashanah.
Both in Rosh Hashanah, and we're speaking about the transferings Dalad Amos b'Rosh Hashanah, which is also Midrash.
What if he just threw it and it fell on the floor?
Then Avada Am Chayiv. If I'm a thrower and I threw it and it traveled the Dalad Amos and it landed, that means I did the Akira and I did the Hanach.
What's the whole chiddush of the guy catching?
The chiddush is that you would have thought that since someone caught it, he did the Hanach. Had he not caught it, it would have taken another second to land. And you should know that in other areas in Shabbat, just to speak it out, let me give you a din of cooking. We're going to go through all these dinim. If a person puts something on a fire on Shabbos, God forbid, b'shoigik, and someone else stokes the pot, stirs the pot, you know what the din is? They're both chayv chatas. What's the lashon of Chazal? Because he made it cook quicker. Right? I forgot the lashon exactly. Your megis, Shakita, you made it happen quicker. Here you can argue by here also you made it happen quicker. But we don't look at it that way.
So you're saying that since even though his hand's considered dalad al dalad, so you think it might not necessarily be part of the Rosh Hashanah?
No. That we went through. Forget about that. The dalad al dalad is zikr part of the rishus that you're in. That's not the. The issue is that when it comes to the malacha of transferings, there are two steps that need to happen: a akira and a hanacha. And if the catcher is the one that caught it, then we say none of them violated. None of them violated. Cooking is a one-act thing, even though it takes time. So if I did the act of cooking and you went and stoked the pot and you made it happen quicker, I cooked and you cooked, God forbid. But since transferring is a two-step melacha, both steps have to happen by the same person. And if the guy moved and he caught it, then we view him to have made the hanach. Now, Tanya Nami Hachi Yachedim Oimrim, Amid b'mekayimai, this is what we learned on top of the Amid. Amid b'mekayimai, if the catcher stood in his place and the catcher caught it, here we don't say that the catcher did the hanacha. The thrower is chayiv, because the thrower did both the akira and the hanacha. But Amid b'mekayimai v'kibel, then we say that the thrower is patur, which is clearly like the din of Rabbi Yechanan. Now, Chevra Halkop. These are very abstract concepts. Boye Rabbi Yechanan, what happens if Zorak Chayfetz, one person, Reuven, threw an item into the Rosh Hashanah, and you know who caught it? Reuven. So Reuven ran, Reuven himself, the nekar hu mimekaymai, and he runs under the baseball, and he himself a chazer v'kibloi. That means he was akar mimekaymai. What did we learn above? That if one thrower throws it and the catcher who catches it, if the catcher moved out of the catcher's place where he was standing while the item was oiked from its place, then we view each one as a separate action, done by two people, neither of them violated biblically, do we say that, now here it's the same person, still Rabbi Yechanan wants to know, Mahu, is this person chayiv chatas? The Gemara asks the first white line, why not? He did the akira, he did the hanacha. No? Omar Rav Ada bar Ahava, Shnei koichos ba'adam echad, two forces in the same person. This is what we are inquiring about. Let's read the words and explain it. Shnei koichos ba'adam echad. Do we say two opposite forces? Two opposite forces. Are they still coming from the same person and therefore he'll be chayiv? Or if two opposite forces are coming from the same person, we view that as two different people doing the malacha of transferring. They're not chayiv midoraisa, they're only pater l'avra midrabanan. Let me explain something. When I throw something, and it was going to land in a certain location, then me running to catch it, thus causing it not to land in the trajectory that it was going to land in. That running to catch it, you can say, is contradicting. It's a counter force to the first hanacha. Whereas if I threw it and I would do nothing, I would do the akira and the hanacha. The akira is when I threw it, and it's going to land someplace. When I now am oiken my raglayim and I run to get it, we can view that as an opposite force. I'm changing the trajectory. I'm changing the place where it was going to land. I'm doing that. And indeed, if another person did it, he did the hanacha. So maybe since I made one force, my first act was a akira that would lead to a hanacha in location A. Then I myself ran and caught it. Obviously, I caught it not where it was going to land originally. So that's considered like a different. I'm making now a new hanacha. My act of hanacha is opposite where it would have been. And that's why takif, that's the pshat, that if the guy ran and caught it, that's why we give the catching the credit to the catcher. Because it wouldn't have landed there had he not ran.
So it has to do with his intent?
It has to do not with the, yeah, you can say the word with intent. The fact that he's catching it, he ran to catch it, so he changed the outcome, so that, we view that as a counterforce. My first force was it was going to land in location A. My second action made it land in location B. So since my second action is changing what the first action would have done, we call that a separate koyach. So maybe it's coming from two koyachas ba'adam.
You said the same thing also from Shusayach to Shusarabim. If you threw it from Shusayach,
You can apply this any way you want, correct. Just this concept over here of is my counter force action considered me, or is it considered a new person?
Is this question only when it jumps to other place? Let's say if you're playing basketball and you are standing still in the place and you just get a basketball.
First of all, if I threw a basketball and it came back to the same place, there was no malach at all, because it didn't go daladamas.
No, let's say it go daladamas.
No, then how would I catch it?
Because it came past.
No, but that there was no hanacha.
So what was akira?
If akira and a hanacha in the same daladamas, there's no malach at all. B'daladamas. Here, the only way to give the scenario is where you ran to get it.
Are we trying to say that this should be different than if it was somebody else?
No, we're saying the opposite. It's so much like someone else that I should be viewed like someone else. No, it's my catching is a counter force. It's soiser in my first koyach. So it's like a new person. And the Gemara says to this, and therefore I might be pater. So if I throw something and then I run to catch it, then the pater doesn't mean we should do it. Pater means it's asur midrabanan, but I'm not going to be chayv chatas teiku. Amar Rabbav and Amar Rabbi Yechanan hichnis yodel techatzer chaveidoi. Another case. These are gavaldik cases. I put my hand. I'm in the reshus harabim, and I put my hand over your private property, guys. Reshus hayachid goes up until the heavens, and it's raining, and somehow I gathered the rain. The rain is falling into my hand, and then I take it out to me. The kibel make shamim and v'hoitzi. I'm under the Reshus Harabim. So says Rabbi Yechanan Achidish, I'm chayiv. Why am I chayiv? Because what exactly did I do? I did an akira and a hanacha. The Gemara asks, how did I do an akira? The definition of an akira is I lifted up or I uprooted an item that was previously fixated. It was steady, it was established in a prior location. The rain that I took came from where? Came from the heavens. If another person loads something on me, it means I did not do the akira. The case of the Mishnah. The Balabayas put something in the hands of the ani and he took it out. The Mishnah said pater. So here it wasn't another person, it was God Almighty. Or it was the Belashon Chazal, the heavens. The heavens gave you water. I Bechlal didn't do an akira. I didn't even uproot it. That's a bigger question. God gave it to me. And the chitema shekibel. Don't say the word kibel. I didn't just stick my hand out. Ela kolat. I collected it. So different. In other words, rain is falling. I stick my hands over your property, and with my left hand I move the rain into my right hand. So God didn't put it, I collected it. Okay, so now comes the question that I spoke out a moment ago. So even if I made the akira, but where did I take it from? I took it from the air. The rain wasn't on anything. It's not on the stationary place, it's not on dalad. So Amar Abchia, Berei Rav Huna, Kigoin, Shekolat Mi'al Gaba HaKoisel. That what happened was that in this guy's Rishus HaYachid there is a wall. And and the rain is dripping down the wall. And I didn't just stick my hand out and the forces of gravity. With one hand, I pushed it into the other hand. But I'm pushing it off the wall. Oh, so it's on the wall. So on the wall, it's Mi'al Dalid Makim Dalid. Says the Gemara, no. Al Gabi Koisel Nami Holanach. It's not enough for it to be from a place of Dalid. It has to be stationary. It's not stationary. So answers the Gemara, Kita Omar, either Rava or Rabba. We're going to read Rava because it says Rava. But here we have on the side, maybe Rava. Kita Omar Rava, just like Rava said elsewhere, that we're speaking about Koisel Meshupam, a perpendicular wall, a inclined wall. So if the wall would have been standing mamish straight up, and I were with my hand to push the water even more into my other hand, then even though I did the akira, I moved the water, but it's not considered from a dalad. But if the wall is inclined, it's on a 90-degree angle. Taka, it's not straight, but 90 degrees is already considered stationary enough for me, from my action of moving it into my other hand, to be considered an acting of akira me'al makim dalad. Just like Rava said it elsewhere, Hachinami bekoisel meshupa. Says the Gemara, Vehecha itmer de Rava or the Rabba. Regarding what din did he say this concept of a 90-degree angled wall? Aha detnan dafei amid beis. Isn't this great? These concepts, Gavaldik. Hoya koyda b'sefer al gabaho iskufa. My friends, a person is reading a sefer. In those days, a sefer was a rolled scroll, not like a sefer Torah that's rolled, double rolled, but like a Megillah. Everything was written that way. So just give an example. And now a person is standing on a door sill, on a iskufa. Iskufa is that under the door there is a stone or a piece of wood that protrudes out into the Rishus HaRabim. All right? It's above the ground of the Rishus HaRabim. It's more than 3 tvachim, or it's 3 tvachim or more above the ground, but it's not 10 tvachim higher. So even though it has 4 by 4, it's in between 3 tvachim and 10 tvachim high. Therefore, as we just learned on Amud Aleph, this is a din. This has a din of a karmelis. My property has a halacha of a karmelis. I'm Shabbos fabringing over there reading a psa sefer. All right, and v'nizgalgal al sefer miyadei, and one end of the sefer rolls out of my hand, and it's rolling over the Rishus HaRabim. Okay, now just to make it clear. Even if I were to take an item that's stationary on the ground of the Rishus HaRabim onto the door sill, I would not be violating an Isur Doiraisa, because the Iskufa, being that it's 3 tvachim or a bit more above the ground of the Rishus HaRabim, right? It doesn't have mechitza, it's not in my house. There's no mechitza of 10 tvachim to make it into a Rishus HaYachid. It has a din of a karmelis. So a bona fide act of carrying from the door sill to the street or back is an Isur Midrabanan. Here, there's another aspect. Not all of it landed on the ground. The book didn't fall out of my hand and land on the Rishus HaRabim. One part of the sefer is still in my hand. Oh, So says the Mishnah, right? The Tanach says the Mishnah that I'm allowed lechatchila goy loy etzli. I can roll it back to myself. Now a couple of steps to understand it. Number one, midoiraisa, the act of transferring is only when the item was fully stationary in one location. Not some of it, all of it. The Chachamim said that even if part of an item is in one domain, part of it, I may not transfer it into a different domain. Why? Because if I can do that, then I'll do it even if the whole item was stationary. So there's a Gzeira Midrabanan. Now this is a good example of we don't have double Gezeiras Midrabanan. There's 2 points here. Number one is the Sefer didn't fully fall under the Rishus HaRabim. Only part of it is under the Rishus HaRabim. And even though it's only part, normally if I would be in a Rishus HaYachid and part would have been in the Rishus HaRabim, Midrabanan, I can't take it back. Why? Because then I'll get used to taking it back. Then I might be reading a book out of my window and the book will fall on the ground and then I'll just take the whole book back, then I'm going to be violating Yisur D'Oraisa. But being that I'm on the Iskufa is only a Carmelis. So here the Chachamim didn't even make a Gzeira. Being that some of it is in my hand, Yechap, so the other part of it that falls onto the Rishus HaRabim, I am allowed to roll it back in my hand. However, but if I'm on my roof is a bona fide Rishus HaYachid, and then it's Galgal, let's say from a Yadai, and again, part of the Sefer rolls out of my hand. Now here clearly, if it would have rested halachically on the ground, even only part of it, we just mentioned, then midrabanan, I would not be allowed to take it back. So says the Mishnah, if it didn't even enter the airspace of 10 tfachim above the ground, the Rishus HaRabim only goes up 10 tfachim. That means it didn't enter at Rishus HaRabim, it's in a place called the Makim Ptur, less than 4x4. Then Avad again, goy loy etzloi. You know why goy loy etzloi? Chavre, listen to this. Even if the entire book would have fallen out of my hand, I'm on the roof. If I would have quick reflexes, I can grab the whole book out of the air and take it back to me, as long as I'm not in 10 tfachim from the ground. So avada, if only part of it is in that airspace, nothing wrong is happening. However, says the Mishnah, but the moment part of the end, one end of this unrolling sefer enters the airspace which is within 10 tfachim from the ground of the Rishus HaRabim, here says the Mishnah, again this is only midrabanan, again midoraisa, transferring an object is only usud if the entire object is in one place and you make on all of it an akira and then a hanacha to another domain. But midrabanan, you're not allowed to do it. So once it entered the airspace of 10 tvachim, so there is hoytchay al aksav, you can't roll it back. You shouldn't drop the one that's in your hand. You have to leave it there. Now, there's a detail, being that it's a sefer and there's words written there. We're speaking about a Shabbos. We're not speaking about anything other than a holy book. So what happens is that you just turn the parchment upside down. So the letter should not be facing up. It's a way that we are machaber the sefer. This is not about the book getting ruined. This is about, for example, nowadays, if a person is in the middle of learning, then they go to the restroom. So either close the sefer. And if you're not going to close the sefer, we cover the letters. If you saw that people put another sefer on top of it. It's a way we're machaber. We don't just leave a book open, stamazing. Okay. Now, b'havin and ba, and when we learned this Mishnah, we asked to understand, amay hoyfchay alaksav, why is it necessary to turn it over? Ha loy nach. It's only dangling. And again, since it's a dangling, it didn't hit the ground yet. If it didn't hit the ground yet, why don't we say that even if all of the book is there, why would I not be allowed to take it back? Let me explain the question. Emes, that the airspace within 10 tfachim is called the Rishus HaRabim. But again, let's make believe the whole book fell out of my hand. And the whole book did not hit the ground yet. It's in the air. What are we learning? That Akira is only me'al makayim, dalad al dalad. Now maybe you can say if it's within 3 tfachim, we love it. But if it's not within 3 tfachim, you're not doing an act of Akira. And therefore I should be allowed to take it back. And certainly over here where part of it is in my hand, but independent of that, so what that it entered the airspace and Akira is only me al makim dalad al dalad? That was the question that they had in the Mishnah, and on that came along either Rava or Rabba. For Amar Rava, bekoisel meshupa. That must have been the case. In other words, it's not dangling in the air. If a taka would have been dangling in the air, even though it entered 10 tfachim, you could take it back. if it's not within 3 tvachim. That's loved. It must have been, I'm on my roof, and I have this wall that is a 90-degree angle. Tosfos adds another important detail, that when there is such a wall facing the Reshus Harabim, and people that are on the street are using that wall to help them, like people have stuff on their backs and they want to straighten it out, then that wall has a din of a Reshus Harabim. So it's on the wall. Now hold on, how does that answer the question? I get it, the wall is solid, dalad, but it's meshupa. But it's not stationary. So that is where we see that Rava holds that if the wall is standing mamish, that's a 90-degree off the ground, I'm trying to get it. If the wall is standing on a what is this called? An angle? 90 degrees. Then we say it's not stationary on the wall. But if the wall is 45, if the wall is 45, it's meshupa. True that things roll down it, but meshupa means halachically whatever is on it is already stationary. So not is the wall only a solution that it's ma'al makim dalad, but it's ma'al makim in which the item on it is resting halachically.
Even though it's not resting.
Even though it's not resting. So that's why we need this source. So that's Rabbi Yochanan, that when you chap the water, again, there's a few things. First of all, you have to do the akira. If I'm putting my hand over your property to take water out. So it can't just be that I hold my hand out. If I hold my hand out, I did no akira. God did the akira. So it must be that I used one hand to move the water into my other hand. Number 2, it has to be me'al makim dalad. It's water off a wall. Number 3, if the wall would be 90 degrees, it also would not be enough because it's not stationary. It's not noch. If the wall is 45 degrees, thank you, now it's noch. Says the Gemara, hold on.
So you're saying that the wall is straight. That's what you're saying.
No, meshupa means the wall is 45 degrees.
The problematic one.
If the wall would have been straight, then even though the wall is takeh, me'al dalad, but it's not something that's noch on dalad. Look at these concepts. But hold on, the Gemara is not happy. And there is a difference between a solid and liquid. So frek the Gemara, ema the amar rava or rabba without sefer. When you have a sefer, again, if the wall is 90 degrees, then it's not stationary. If the wall is 45 degrees, it's meshupa. Then you know what? There are times that something solid will actually stop on the wall in that position. It's shayach. So then the halacha can say, even when it's rolling, we can view it as if it stopped because there's a possibility, because of the fact that it's not 90, it's only 45, then the avid denoyach. But mayim, mi avidi denaichi, water will never stop on a 45 angle. So we're not happy, we're not accepting that the Rava solution elsewhere is not the solution here. So we're back to asking, what exactly did Rabbi Yochanan say? Answers the Gemara Elamar Rava. Kigoin shekalat mi'al gaba guma. Rabbi Yochanan is speaking about a case. Oh, this is so good. I'm walking in the Reshus Harabim, and you have your Reshus HaYachid, and you have a ditch, a hole, a well, a puddle. Who cares? There's a little cavity in the ground that's filled with water, and I stick my hand in there and I take the water out of that puddle. So it's on the ground. The ground is dalad. The water is actually stationary. And I took up that water. Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm chayiv. Asks the Gemara, who needs a Rabbi Yochanan? Pshita. I made an akira, and I'm bringing it to me. So the Gemara says, no, there is a chiddush. You know why? Because I am not putting my hand all the way to the bottom of the pit. When I picked up the water, I only picked up the top layer of water. Now the top layer of water is resting on what? On the water underneath it. If we are to view it that way, then I can argue that the water is not stationary because the water is floating on the water underneath it. It's not noyech. It's not resting. So therefore there's no akira. So in other words, if it's not a hanacha, meaning since it's not resting, then my akira is not an akira, Komash Malan, that we view all of the body of water as one entity, and the water, all of the water is resting inside the ground, underneath and on the sides of it. So the water is noyech. So my act is an act of akira. And for Azar Avalatame, the Avarava.
Why couldn't you say the same thing if it was rocks?
We're getting there. No. A rock is not. A rock is stationary.
No, I'm saying that the rocks are on top of other rocks.
But the rock is stationary. And the water is moving. Water is physically moving. Mayim al gaba mayim hayno hanochasam. Since that's the way it is, it's called stationary. However, let's go to another case. Let me give a contrast. If you have an egois al gaba mayim, You have a walnut that's floating around in your puddle. And Reuven is walking down the street, ganef, and he's taking your walnut. So he's gamvening. But the question is, did he do also achil Shabbos? And here, what's the issue? Yes, I get it. It's on the water, but the nut is floating. And Rava says, lav hainu hanochasoi. Ubemela, if someone stole it and they made an akira, they did not make an akira. Now, make no mistake, midrabanan, they violated hoitzah because they did a hanocha. But they did not, they're not chayiv chatas. And now, by Rava, this is a good intro to Gemara. What happens if ego is bekeli, if you have a nut in this private guy's property, the nut is in a cup. A nut in a cup, it's stationary in the cup. But the cup is floating on top of the water. And then the chacham goes ahead and he takes the nut out of the cup. A nut. So did he do an akira? This is so good. Basar ego is linan. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at the nut? The nut is noyech. So he did an akira. Oy dilma basar keli is linan. The whole keli is not noyech. V'haloi noyech.
Why isn't the keli not?
Water.
Because it's floating. The noyed, because it's moving around. The keli is floating.
Oh, the keli is floating in water?
Yeah, a nut in the keli in the water. Well, you can argue that the ganso elam haza is floating around in the space. Okay, fine. The one says take 'em.
What if you have a stroller and there's something in the stroller and the stroller like take something out?
So I would say like this. Oh, very good. That's something is rolling down the wall. That's a good example of wheels. Something is rolling down the wall. So what we learned theoretically is that if there is a possibility, there are cases where it can stop there, like the sefer, then even though it's physically moving, we view it as if it's noyech. If it's not shayech like water never stops going down a 4 or 45 angle. Mamish loy noyech. Look at these concepts. Now another question. We're not done yet. Shemen shensaf al gaba yayin. Oil, the teva floats. Now for our question, the Gemara could have given shemen shensaf al gaba mayim. There's a reason why we use yain, because we're going to compare it to another case. There it's taka shemen and yain. So oil is floating on top of wine, and the chacham makes an akira on the oil. Now what did we say by water? By water we said that all of the water is like one unit. That was the case of Rabbi Yechina. But here, it's shemen and yain. Different, or not. And a person only did an akira on the shemen, and they took it to them and they made a hanach. So that says the Gemara is a machlokes, Rabbi Yechina and Ben Nuri, machlokes Tanoi and Rabbanan. Ditnan, now we're going to Hilchas Truman, Tuman Tara. If a person who was tummy, who went to the mikveh, and did not yet wait for nightfall, they have a status of a sheni. A sheni who touches food items, if the food items are chulin cannot become a shlishi. Truma can become a shlishi, but truma cannot become a revi. So says the Mishnah, shemen that was floating on top of wine, and now here shemen and wine, because water can never be truma. Shemen can be truma, yain can be truma. That's a great example. V'nogat full yain, who has a din of a sheni on the oil on top. No one is debating whether the oil is tamei as a shlishi. It is. A full yain touches truma. Sheni makes truma into a shlishi, but it's called not tamei, it's called pasel, because it cannot pass that truma weiter. So the shemen loy pasal ela shemen bilvad. The oil is touching the wine. We view the oil and the wine as two separate entities. According to the Shita, if I would make an akira on the shemen, I would be chayiv. No. According to this opinion, I would not be chayiv, because the shemen and the wine are two different entities, and the shemen is floating. It's not noyech. If there's no hanacha, there's no akira. However, shneim mechubarim zelozeh. And therefore, first of all, he says the shemen and the yain becomes a shlishi, which means they're one entity. If they're one entity, the shemen and the yain, like the water, is resting on the ground. Yes, you made an akira. Now, nachashtikol Amar Reb Oven, Amar Rabbi Loi, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Hoyu Toyin Oichlen Umashkin. If a person had on him food or drink, I lifted up food or drink while I am in a private domain. Here is the key. When I made the akira, I did not intend to take it outside. When I made an akira, I intended to take it to the other corner in my house. And then I changed my mind. Now that I am already moving, I said, you know what? I'm going outside. For me to be chayv chatos, I have to make an akira and a hanacha. The akira chayiv chatos b'shoigig, but the mezid would mean that I intended to make an akira. Let's say a person forgot that it's Shabbos, or a person forgot you may not carry, but they have to intend to carry. This is the din of called maleches machshavas. Maleches machshavas means that I needed to intend to do that which I actually did. Making a akira without, during the akira, intending to take it outside, that is not halachically called an akira at all. And therefore, even if I'm nichnas v'yoytze kol yom kuloi, I'm going back and forth, as long as I don't stop, so the hanacha is that which follows the akira. If the akira wasn't closed, how do you close up an akira? By stopping. Then you make a new akira. But as long as I didn't make a hanacha yet, so all of the movement is an extension of the initial, original akira. That akira was not done with the intent of taking it to another domain. I'm not going to be chayiv. I'm going to be patet, I'm going to be over isu derabanan. If I stop under the Reshus Harabim, I made a hanacha. No one is debating that. But there is never going to be a biblical violation. Ad sheyamoid. If I stop, my stopping in my house. Stopping in my house is not violating anything. I picked it up at my house and I stopped in my house. The point is that the only time that it's shayach for me to make a new akira is if the item first stopped. So if I stop, now I begin to move again. If in my new movement I intend to take it outside, now I made an akira that could lead to a hanacha, that could lead to an act of haitzah. Takes time to register. These are new concepts. A lot of new principal concepts today. Amar Abaye adds another important detail. First of all, you're right. If while I made the akira, I did not intend to take it outside, that akira is not meleches machsheves, and it can never lead to an isur d'oraisa. If I stop, then I ended that akira. Not so simple. Abaye limits that. If I stopped in order to rest, if amad, v'hu she'amad lafush, then I closed, I finished, I completed the initial akira. But if, let's say, in my house, I stopped because I wanted to adjust the backpack better, and in order to better adjust it, I stopped, that's not called stopping. And since that's not called stopping, so the akira is still the original akira. The original akira lacked meleches machsheves, it will never lead to an isur d'oraisa. Mimai, where does Rava learn that din from? Says the Gemara, from this teacher. Who was Abaye's teacher? Abaye's teacher was Rava. Right, Rava was the teacher of both Abaye and Rava. And he called this teacher master. Me the Amar Mar, since the master. Rava said the following: Toich daladamis. If a person made an akira b'reshus harabim, I picked up something in the public domain. If I'm going to go daladamis, I'm going to be chayiv. But if I go less than daladamis and I stop, then I'm not chayiv. I didn't make an akira and a hanacha from one daladamas to outside that daladamas. So he said like this: that mitoich daladamas, if I stood. So you would argue, the moment I stood, I can go again less than 4 amas, and again less than 4 amas. On that said Rabba, if I taka stood, but when I stood, I only stood to readjust my luggage, that's not called standing. That's not called a hanacha. That's l'chumra. So now if I keep on going, even if I went the second time, also less than daladamas, but it's more than 4 amas from my initial akira, I will be chayiv. Toich daladamas, if amad lafush, that's called I stopped. If I rested, then I finished the old akira. I made an akira and I made a hanacha. Now if I begin to walk again, I'm making a new akira. And again, if I walk less than daladamas, I did not violate Shabbos. But if lekatev, if my stopping wasn't to rest, it was to readjust the luggage, then I'm chayiv. And the same thing in reverse. If I am walking and I went already beyond 4 amas, which means if I stop now, I'm chayiv. Depends. If amad lafush, that's when I'm chayiv. But if I stop beyond 4 amas, but I only stopped in order to readjust my luggage, lekatev, then I'm pater. So he learned from his teacher, Abaye learned that stopping lafush is stopping. Stopping lekatev is not a hanacha. And he just brought that din, the din that we're learning of malachas machshavas. Lafush means to rest. That's called hanach, stopping. Even just for a moment, I want to rest. Now, Michael Mashmalon, what's the chiddush of this whole din? When ultimately, I'm sorry, this is the din We're not talking about Abaye's detail of lafish. We're talking about Rabbi Yechanan's din. What is Rabbi Yechanan teaching me? That the akira has to be done with the machshava of transferring it. Rabbi Yechanan already taught it Chada Zimna. The Amar Rab Safra, Amar Rab Ami, and Rabbi Yechanan. Hamaver chafetzim izavis l'zavis. It's almost the same thing, just in different words. But here it's Rav Ami, Rab Safra, Amar Rav Ami, Koren Rabbi Yechanan. I pick up something in my house. These are the words to take it to the other corner, and I began to move. I already did the akira, not for the malacha of hitzah, to take it to the other corner. And v'nim lachalem, while I'm walking, I changed my mind. And v'hitzion, and I walked out with it, and I put it down on pater. So why do we need to have Rabbi Yechanan telling me the din? Mamish, I mean, that's a little bit different words. Rabbi Loi, Rav Ami, the Gemara says Eina Chanami. Rabbi Yechanan said one din. He had two Talmidim, Rabbi Loi and Rav Ami. Each one repeated it in the name of their teacher a little bit differently. So the Gemara says, Amiroi Ninu, and Mar Amar La Bahai Lishna, or Mar Amar La Bahai Lishna. To be continued. These are good. This is good. This clarifies Akira.